We all love our pets, no matter what they might be. Dogs, cats, birds, reptiles, rodents, or even fish. There's just something very comforting about knowing that no matter who you are or what you do, your pets will unconditionally accept you and love you. This is why losing a pet is incredibly hard for some people. It's like losing a best friend or even a family member, and you can't replace a family member. Or can you? This is Gunny, a black Labrador owned by a professional photographer by the name of Moni Must. And this is Billy Bean, the Labrador from which Gunny was cloned. Yes, you heard right. These two dogs, both physically and genetically, are the exact same dog. The only difference is that Gunny was born later in life than Billy Bean. After watching her dog deteriorate in its older age, Moni couldn't bear to be part with her furry companion and thus decided that she didn't have to. As advanced and futuristic as it sounds, cloning isn't anything new. In fact, human beings have been cloning animals as far back as the 90s, Dolly the sheep being the most well-known example. The process isn't even that difficult to understand, believe it or not. Something known as a somatic cell is taken from an organism. The vast majority of your body is made up of these cells, and they're very important in the process of cloning, because these cells are diploid, meaning that they carry two sets of chromosomes inherited from each of your parents. These cells can be extracted from the skin, hair, nails, organs, or even bone. Once the somatic cells are extracted, the DNA in the cell is then transferred to an egg, where an embryo will be created. This embryo is then implanted into a surrogate mother who will give birth to the clone. Essentially, cloning is a controlled method of childbirth that skips the conception stage and guarantees a very specific offspring. And it has proven to be a very lucrative industry. Viagin Pets is a company based in Cedar Park, Texas, and they specialize in cloning pets. The reality of loss is something that a lot of people are not prepared to accept. And this is where Viagin Pets comes in. All you have to do is have your veterinarian take a DNA sample of your pet and have it sent to the Viagin labs. From there, Viagin will carry out the process of having your pet cloned. Viagin has cloned hundreds of pets, including one of Barbra Streisand's dogs. If you're unwilling to depart with your companion and wish to have them cloned, the price is a steep one. Cloning your pet can cost upwards of $50,000. You might think that this is incredibly pricey. However, the price is more than fair when the labor is taken into account. Although the cloning process is relatively simple to explain, going about doing it is another story. Simply put, cells are tiny and require a very delicate amount of care to work with and extract. One simple mistake and the entire process can be ruined. There's also no guarantee that the clone will live past 6 months. Abnormalities and health conditions are, unfortunately, all too common in clones, and oftentimes, in order to have one successful clone, several failures must die. It is not a perfect process, and this is where one of the many criticisms of cloning lie. Other criticisms come from a more religious perspective, many seeing the act of cloning as a challenge to God. Of course, with the many downsides to cloning, there are also upsides, such as the prospect of being able to clone extinct fauna to bring them back into existence. We could also selectively clone genetically superior livestock that can resist disease. So cloning is not exactly a black and white issue. One of the most morally complicated questions still has yet to be answered. Should we clone a human being? Human cloning is illegal in most countries, so even if you were to create a human embryo, chances are that you would be arrested for injecting it into a surrogate mother with the intention of inducing live birth. In 2018, a group of Chinese researchers were able to create the first successful live-birthed monkey clones. So it seems as though cloning humans is very likely possible, but ethically questionable. While we have yet to clone a whole human, we have been able to clone human embryos for the purpose of extracting their stem cells. Stem cells build, repair, and maintain the human body. They can be manipulated to repair specific things in the body, such as diseased organs and tissues. Unfortunately, stem cells that are transplanted from one human to another are not effective, as they are usually seen as a foreign intruder to the body. This is why cloning someone's stem cells is incredibly useful. There is also the topic of genetic editing, a process by which, instead of making an identically cloned embryo, you can select specific traits you would like an existing embryo to possess. This could lead to the birth of genetically ideal offspring if you were to pick and choose the traits you'd wish your child to have. You could even edit the DNA in a fully grown human being, plant, or animal. This process is often called biohacking, and it is done through the use of Crispr. Crispr is a newly discovered technology which allows us to edit genes by performing surgery on them. You could think of Crispr as a cheat code in the game of life. It is really that powerful. We could use it to create mosquitoes that cannot spread malaria, grow food that takes longer to expire, and even cure diseases such as cancer and cystic fibrosis. In fact, scientists have already used Crispr on a woman with sickle cell disease named Victoria Gray. After she was infused with more than 2 billion of her own genetically modified bone marrow cells, almost all of her symptoms disappeared. But in the case of unborn babies, they have no way to give consent. This is an ethical setback when it comes to the topic of creating what some call designer babies. Babies that were modified when they were a mere fertilized egg to be born with specific traits. In 2018, the first designer babies were born. Chinese scientist He Zhonghui modified the twin girls known as Lulu and Nana. The genetic editing on the girls was done in a petri dish, and the goal was to protect them from HIV because their father has AIDS. This caused an outrage, because even though preventing HIV seems like something we'd want to attempt, in this case the risks are unknown and potentially catastrophic. When editing the twin girls' DNA, they were a fertilized egg at the single cell stage. This means that every change made to their DNA was going to appear in all of the cells in their body. An unpredicted mutation could be a side effect of such an experiment. Additionally, any changes made to the DNA at the single cell stage of development would be carried on to future generations. Regardless of the risks, Zhonghui continued with the experiment. His argument was that he believes families will need this technology. As for the results of the surgery, Zhonghui reported that it was a success and 2 beautiful healthy girls were born. It is not known how the twins are today, since the names Lulu and Nana are not their real names. They remain anonymous. He Zhonghui was sentenced to 3 years in prison for undertaking the experiment and was banned for life from working on reproductive medicine. Zhonghui has stated that he does not believe in modifying babies to have a different appearance or IQ, but only to make life-saving changes, such as preventing HIV. Do you think he should have been sentenced? Obviously, the world of cloning and biohacking is vast and has many morally complicated quandaries. Would you want to clone your pet? Should we attempt to clone humans? Would you genetically edit your child to make sure they're perfect in your eyes? Feel free to comment below. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, be sure to like and subscribe to Tech Neo. Thanks for watching.